So at this time, everybody knows about the precinct delegate Bill of Rights. You should have received the email that I sent you with the attachment. And at this time, Jason, I want to turn the floor over to you. And also, Jason is part of the policy committee, but then also Rich is on the phone too, who's part of the policy committee with Jason. And I just want to just say big time kudos to these two gentlemen. They took the bull by the horns. They put a lot of man hours into this thing, and I think it's a great piece of work. I mean, some people think this stuff is easy to do, but it took a lot of hours to do it. So I want to commend them for doing it. And at this time, Jason, I'd like to just turn the floor over to you and give us the presentation on the precinct Bill of Rights. Looks like Michelle has a question here, Jason. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, go ahead. Is that a hand up or? Oh, stop it. Hey,
big clapping. Okay.
Big group effort. I mean, we had a subcommittee, policy committee created a subcommittee. And it was Ann Clark, Dan Bonamy, Mike Hewitt, Rich McCoy, Deb Null, and then Robert Ostrike. And I'm gonna tip a hat here to the guy that never tells me to tip a hat, but Rich worked his hind end off on this thing. And Sean's dead right. I mean, it's more hours than any of us really even thought. I've not put more hours into something other than work like this than anything. It's been a lot. It was months upon months of ideas. We met bi-weekly starting in, Rich, when did we start? Was it August?
No, it was earlier in the spring, right? When we first met.
Yeah.
At Hillsdale, right? It was the kickoff of policy committee.
Yeah.
Hillsdale meeting.
It's been a long haul. We've learned a ton. We've learned a ton about doing research. The research tools that we have nowadays are better than ever. You can ask your favorite AI what it thinks about a particular Robert's Rules thing, and actually get some really good input. Rich fell in love with an AI named Claude. So that's been a huge help, and it's enabled us to crank out some really good content. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find, this is called the microsite. Now, Rich took and distilled this. He took and distilled what we're doing into 6 topics. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to copy a different link into here. We've actually started tracking some links just to see how things are moving around. And if you would, Rich, we got a green light to share that, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So the link that I just stuck there in the chat, that'll bounce you right to this page. You can follow along there. It's been a long road for this group. I know a lot of you folks got kicked around and beaten with the Kalamazoo fiasco, and my heart goes out to you. I got to watch a lot of that from relatively close. We share a border with Allegan County, and of course we share with D4, and there's a number of you on this call that really took it on the chin. And foundationally, if persons that are, quote, elected are allowed to choose their electors, things are going to go down the drain. And that's where this keeps driving me. I mean, America's just a wonderful place. It's a wonderful chapter in the history of the world that just doesn't exist anywhere else. And that's what keeps me going. The friends that this affected, it keeps me going. But if we let the torch go out over here, the world's going to turn into a dark place. So what is this precinct delegate Bill of Rights? This all started out by a fella named Ron Riesterer down from Van Buren, who published a 2-page document called the Precinct Delegate Bill of Rights. I'm sure you've all seen it. We took that and started working at that, and that document was a great place to start. But when you get into the practicality of how do you actually work this out within bylaws of the state of Michigan or of MyGov, we realized that there was just, our bylaws don't address so many things. This website here is a high level rundown, and I'm going to go through it. I'm going to try to go relatively slow, I guess. Maybe we could ask questions as we go. Maybe we should keep them to a minimum. I don't know. We'll play that by ear. So first and foremost, well, here, I'll just hit high level a minute. I mean, this is election integrity for our conventions. Now, that's our state conventions and our county conventions and our district. It's all three. All right. Then we address precinct delegate slots. We addressed county party autonomy. And we addressed good order, governance, transparency, and due process. Now, some of this is going to sound a little legal. Okay. And we've done as much as we could to get these concepts across, but we've got to make certain wording nicer. You're going to hear some things that sound a little bit like more legalese than you want to. You're going to hear about something that we started off calling a trial because that was the best paradigm that we had. And we've got to massage some of that English. You know, that'll come out in state committee soon, probably as soon as December. So when you hear, you know, governance, just bear with us a bit. We found out that the MIGOP really hasn't reserved any recognition on trademarking, on naming conventions and whatever. And that's going to bear out, that fact would bear out if somebody starts running amok with, you know, saying we're the Republican district and they're running afoul of our bylaws. Some of this recognition should give us the ability to reprimand those parties and say, if you're not, and Rich and I use the term, if you're going to play on the football team and you want to wear the jersey, you gotta be playing football to the rules. You know, that would give us the ability to perhaps pull back some of that recognition if we had to. Delegate oversight of MIGOP, that's the last one. We want more delegate input in what goes on in all of our conventions, in our county conventions, in our district conventions, and in the state convention also, and that gets addressed directly. So I'm going to roll up here to the top. Election integrity for the conventions. So, you know, if you're going to play football, you got to have rules, right? And how many years did it take on average, just hold up your fingers, where you actually first saw your bylaws for your county? I think I was a good 10 years before I finally saw a copy of the bylaws.
My county still doesn't have bylaws.
What's that, Robin?
Van Buren still doesn't have bylaws.
No fooling. So you're just straight Robert's rules.
No, we're just straight chaos.
Zero.
I saw ours at Kalamazoo within the first year
Did
that
you?
I joined. Yeah.
Well, they posted them big since they changed them, didn't
Well, I mean, they've changed them a few times since we've gone to court and with what Judge Bell ruled. Then they really did a number on their bylaws.
But we didn't see the bylaws because they just sent out bylaws. It was a request to see bylaws.
No, I saw the bylaws
Yeah.
because I was on the EC committee and then I was a part of the bylaw committee. So that's how I saw the bylaws. But
Okay, not
yes,
until
we
you
had
got to
to
the EC
request
committee
them.
though. Yeah.
We had to request them.
All right. Well, language that we drafted is going to attempt to hold all the Republican Party conventions across the state to a same standard. You ought to be able to see clear things in all of our 83 counties that are similar, that are all working towards the same goal. All elected precinct delegates at any convention, same voting rights across the board. Everybody, without exception. There's protections in there for the delegates. The requirements for the call of convention. I mean, the calls are sometimes shifty. The calls are sometimes sent out not on time, late, misdirected, et cetera. There's no place anywhere that's spelled out from the state level of here's the standard to follow. So the changes that we're proposing in the bylaws are going to have detailed requirements for the call to convention. There's going to be a requirement for the conventions to adhere to the call, requirements for credentialed delegates, requirements to credentialed delegates who present a valid government ID. I mean, in Kalamazoo, that didn't happen, right? I mean, y'all
Right.
showed up,
Right.
showed up, presented ID, and they told you to go sit in the back.
Right.
All right. So now, if anybody is refused a credential, a written explanation's got to go up to the state committee to a Rich. It started out as a conflict resolution committee, and it's going to probably get renamed to an oversight committee. But anybody who's refused a credential for any reason, your county party is then going to have to actually fill out a form, send it up to the state and say, hey, we refuse so-and-so, and this is why. All right. Now,
So Jason, so you're saying that is in the hands of the local party to do that, not each individual that was turned away?
well, if you were an individual that was turned away, down here at the bottom of this, if you go and scroll down, you're going to see a flow chart. You're going to see a bunch of flow charts. Rich knocked one out of the park with this. And you'd be able to, as a delegate, go right on down the flow chart. And, if somebody thinks their rights were violated, here's how the bylaws, we've all read bylaws. We actually took this and distilled it into a flow chart, which flows with the bylaw changes that we propose to be written because we want this to be clear. We don't want any fooling around. We don't want anybody to say, you're trying to muckety muck things up. This is our intent right here. I'll just go quickly a minute. Rich actually had a stroke of genius, and this isn't out in the wild yet, but you see how these boxes that click up, these will actually click through and actually go right to the chapter and verse of the proposed changes in the bylaws. All right. This isn't public yet, but like right here, oops, my thing.
Yeah, you're good. Click that.
And I'm trying to get back to the tab I was on.
I think it's right there, isn't it?
Right, it is right here. But I was trying to bounce back and forth, and for some reason I can't. Okay, here you go. Was the call to convention publicly available 14 days in advance? And here's chapter and verse right here. Here's one of our changes. You've got to provide a call to convention that is publicly available at least 14 days. We've gone to great lengths to make this clear and understandable. Okay, so mere mortals like us would be able to go through this and go right on through. And if at any time one of these things didn't happen, you're going to ask the question, does the delegate have standing? If yes, then it's, hey, create a complaint. Here's the complaint form you fill out. Here's where it goes. And then this conflict resolution process starts. And that will click through to actually yet another flow chart. All right. And here's the complaint resolution process spelled out. And again, we're massaging this. We're working on this. This isn't quite perfect yet. But what we wanted to do is do something and make it as clear as has ever been presented to us. Basically, we want this to go to all, how many thousand delegates do we have? Is it 8,000? I mean, there's no reason
Close
every,
to it. Yep.
yeah, there's no reason
7,900, I
every,
think.
there's no reason every delegate in the state of Michigan can't get on this and study it.
And Jason, what does publicly available mean? Is that explained or?
Hosted on a website where anybody can get at it.
Okay.
Mouse is my mouse.
That is a good question, Sabrina.
There we go. All right, so I'm going to roll back up. Back button. So I'm going to roll back up to the top. So election integrity for our conventions, that encompasses this. Okay. Any brief questions? I didn't get all the way.
Jason, just to Kim's, because Kim asked about that written explanation piece, and the reason you showed her the chart was to tie that up, because what happens, Kim, is if you feel like your rights are violated, you'll send in that complaint form, but the county has to send in their explanation. That way the committee will see both sides of it right from the get-go.
Okay.
Sorry, Jason, but
Oh, you're fine. Come on in anytime.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's documentation requirements. That's also hashed out, which will have to be done by, anybody refused to be seated. There's paperwork that has to be done, and then that delegate has every right to go appeal it.
So in the meantime, we would be denied, just like we've been in the past. We wouldn't be able to go in and vote. And it's going through this new process instead of the appeals process that we went through before. Correct?
Yes.
There's some pretty big differences, Kim, between what you went through before. And I think the main difference is that our process is transparent. So it's documentation oriented, and then it's going to be made public to the state committee members and to the counties involved, so that, I mean, I don't know how you feel, but I don't know where we could go to see how the credentials committee actually resolved the Kalamazoo and what they used in that decision-making process.
Right.
I think it's kind of a black box, and that's one of the things that we're solving here. We don't want it to be a black box. We want it to be open, and that openness is what's going to kind of help, I think, make better decisions come out of this conflict process. Because you're gonna have to show your work, basically.
Well, hopefully, coming in February, we won't have to deal with this, but just wanted to kind of see, how this will look. So.
Rich, which flow chart was that? Was that the complaint process?
Yes. So you scroll down, keep scrolling down, and we'll show them the. Okay, so you start out with go ahead, Jason. You want to walk them through it?
No, here, you go right ahead, man.
So just scroll down to once we open a matter at the committee, scroll down, or can I scroll down? It's broken into 4 pieces. You have a documentation period where both sides send in their documents, then scroll down. And then the committee is going to look at it, scroll down, and we're going to look at the documents and we're going to ask questions. So that's all written back and forth, and then scroll down. Then there'll be a hearing where the committee asks questions of the plaintiffs and the defendants, and then both sides get to make closing arguments, and then scroll down. And then the committee looks at all the evidence and looks at the hearing, and then they'll take a vote. They'll determine what they think the best outcome for the situation is, and then both the majority and the dissent will write opinions, and then they'll make those public to the parties and to the state committee. So it's really the transparency piece of it is what should drive the best decision making from the committee that are making these decisions. So that's kind
So
of the
how
theory.
long should this process take? So if we have a county convention the end of
Mhm.
February, and then
Yep.
our state can, whatever the convention's called, I
Mhm.
forget. What? The nominating or whatever the convention's called in March. So there's like a month apart. How long will this
Mhm.
process take?
So the way it's set up is that the committee, based on the timelines that we're working with, can adjust those windows. What we hope happens and what we encourage is that we try to start resolving these issues before conventions. So, if a county thinks they have some really bad precinct delegates that really shouldn't be precinct delegates because maybe they're involved in some criminal activity or something, that hopefully we move those processes ahead of the convention. But to your point, if something does happen at the convention and we're on that accelerated timeline, we can set these windows up to be, days each. So I don't think it's going to there's nothing that's going to force us to extend it beyond the window that we have. We can take, I guess you could say we could take extraordinary measures. We can each of those boxes could be done in 2 days. That's the way we've written it right now, is that it's a minimum of 2 days for the documentation, 2 days for the review period, and then the hearing.
Okay.
But we can also extend it if there's complications. The committee can decide to extend those times as well.
So it'll be worked within the perimeters of like when MIGOP has to know who all the delegates and all the alternates are so they can order the name badges on time.
I mean,
Those
yeah,
types of things.
that's why we put in the ability for the committee to shorten the time frames or the windows down. If we get overrun with people claiming to be disenfranchised, then I suppose we could get to the point where we couldn't actually do it all. But I don't think that we have put anything in here that's going to be disadvantaging this process over the current process, if that makes sense. Just because we've got some structure here doesn't mean that we can't do this as fast as the current credentials committee. It's just more structured.
So sorry to
It
take
may
up a
actually
lot of
be
your
faster
time
because
on
of the structure.
this.
Thank you, Robin. Yes, I think so. I think so.
Robin, why don't you repeat that for Kim a minute?
It may be faster because of the structure, because A, B, C, D, you know exactly what to do, and it takes the guesswork out.
Right.
That's
And
a big one.
so if we have 46 delegates disenfranchised again, obviously that changes the makeup of the delegates that's going to go to state convention, which then changes the voting outcome. We were trying to get a new convention, and then we were forced into this, you got to vote Sackett or you got to vote Harris, type of thing that Warren Carpenter ran. And that was just a fiasco. And then they allowed these people that didn't even get voted in to be delegates to fill vacant spots. They were voted in at their executive committee meeting, but they got to vote. So I'm just looking down the road, knowing what we've been through and seeing, would that be a possibility for our county to run a new convention with all delegates present then?
So when you fill out the complaint form, there will be a space for that asks you the question, what relief are you looking for?
Okay,
You can basically request your preferred solution, and
yeah, we
it
did
helps.
that the last time. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. All right, good. Sorry
I-
to take up time. I just,
No, you're
we've
fine.
been
You're
through
fine.
this numerous times and trying to avoid it.
Yeah, I have a question on that. What if the precinct delegate files the complaint form, but the county party does not get the complaint form filed? What's the procedure then?
Well, that's going to trigger if the precinct delegate files it. I mean, that's going to trigger the oversight committee to start digging in.
Mhm.
Okay.
There's going to be communications post haste to that, to that county chair. Hey, you've got a thing you've got to respond to.
And if they
Yeah,
play the game to postpone until you can't get it resolved before
Well,
the next
no,
convention?
they can't. Scroll up, Jason, to the first documentation period.
Oops,
Scroll
right there.
right there. So this box here
Mm-hmm.
is a defined amount of time. So it starts out as a 5-day window. That's the default. It's a 5-day window. But if we're on an accelerated timeline, the committee can vote to make it as small as a 2-day window. And let's just say we make it a 2-day window, we send that notification out. If you haven't submitted, if the county doesn't submit their documents within 2 days, then they don't have any evidence to, they're not participating. And so then the committee would basically be forced to make decisions based on one set of evidence without having the other set. I've been to court before. I've been to court before where one side didn't show up. Have you ever been to a court for a speeding ticket and the cop didn't show up? Judge usually says, "Well, I guess you're innocent." That's what happened. That's happened to me a few times. So anyway, I mean, we can't necessarily predict every possibility here, but I can just tell you that the way this would work is you didn't submit anything. We're just going to keep going and we're going to work with the evidence we have. I would say that this process relies on what evidence is submitted. It doesn't really matter what people say, what people think. It's going to be an evidence-based process, and whatever you submit is what we're going to work with. If you don't submit it, then it's just hearsay. So that's the way it has to be. That's the way the real world works.
Yep. Makes sense.
Yeah. So if I would say if one delegate says he's not seated and his county's not replying to that, that's going to cause an awful lot of issues that the oversight committee is going to be looking at this county going, hey, you've got to actually step up to this, or things are going to fall into effect where we're going to call you out on it.
Yeah.
Now, the call out isn't as solidly defined as we want it to be. Okay. I mean, we would all just love a hammer just to come down and just kabam. And yeah, you smiled. I know I would love that too, but this process has got to happen. It's court light. Right now
Process.
it's a spelled out process that exists, which, as soon as somebody starts walking outside of the guidelines of a due process, you're basically you're, for all intents and purposes, admitting default. Okay. And that's going to put a situation where a county's not stepping up to give concrete reasoning for the fact that they did not seat a particular delegate. We'll use will use the not seating a delegate subject. They've got to come up with that, and they got to come up with that in a hurry. You know, or you're outside of the bylaws. You're outside of the functional process that we're setting forth to follow.
Jason, let me make one more point here that I think the audience would appreciate. If you look at these last two little boxes here, you're submitting documentation and then you're reading the other side's documentation. Okay. Now, if you drop down to the next review period right there, now you're basically cross-examining your opponent's documentation, and now you can write written questions against them, against their evidence. So you basically can cross-examine their evidence and say, yeah, that's not true. Such and so will attest that that didn't happen that way. And we're putting all that on the record. And that's even before the committee that's going to end up judging this starts the judgment process. This is kind of like the cross-examination part where you can, because the local folks went through it, they know kind of maybe a little bit more how to ferret out the truth. And we can participate in that, at the committee level, but that's also the kind of one of the main things that's happening during review is that you can kind of say, no, that's not how it happened.
That is key. That we would be able to review what Sackett or DePerno are submitting.
Yes, exactly.
Y'all probably never saw that, did you?
Oh, no. Nope.
So, I mean, that all just turned into he said, she said.
Yeah. I think they got to see what we submitted to MIGOP, but we never got to see what they submitted.
Yeah.
That's not how, I mean, that's functionally wrong.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And Jason,
I just
would
wanted to
say
bring
that
that point out.
it was not a he say, she say in our deal. It wasn't like we didn't show up with facts and we didn't show up with evidence. We came with evidence and we presented that evidence. Now, what they showed up with, we have no idea.
Right. I mean, that's what I meant. I mean, everything they had was now subjective. You all showed up with with reality. This causes both sides to show up with reality and set it in front of folks that, for all intents, should be impartial to the situation, read it over and make a decision. I mean, Rich is right. Submit the documentation, read the defense. The defense makes their case and they read the plaintiff's stuff, and then then both sides are making their cases over review, and then there's an actual hearing. Get it out, get it done. And you're right, it's got to happen quick.
Where would this hearing take place? Via Zoom or what?
I think
in person?
So.
Likely.
I think it's going to be Zoom. Yeah.
Yeah.
That way it gets recorded, so again, it's all out there.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I like it so far.
Michelle, did we answer your question? Michelle Harris?
Yes.
Well, I guess so.
Yes, you did.
All right.
Thank you.
So scrolling back up. So that's the convention part. All right. And that more or less, that's the bulk of that is situations like the Kalamazoo world. That's where that started. Okay. When Jim Runestedt and Bernadette, when they both ran on this topic, and they took that upon themselves to actually form the policy committee, and they said, address this thing. So this was first on the list. Kalamazoo was one thing. Precinct delegate slots. Now, I haven't gotten the front row seat to Hillsdale. I'm not a Hillsdale expert, but what has allegedly happened in Hillsdale is Hillsdale, the chairs, as I've found out over the years, the chairs can actually do math at every two-year cycle to determine how many precinct delegates are going to be allotted per precinct.
And we
Okay.
had it in Kalamazoo too, Jason, but not to the I mean, they're a smaller county, so yep, we had that happen.
So did they shuffle numbers on you?
Yeah,
The
I
next-
mean, when I started in 21, we had 600 and some odd spots for delegates, and about 93, 95 of those spots were filled. Then Tony Lawrence, when he was chair, he sliced that in half, and then we were at about 350 delegate slots. We thought it would, Kelly was furious about that. You know, we thought it was a big deal, but you know, it really didn't affect us too much because that was still a lot of slots. Well, then when Kelly became chair, she sliced it to, now we're at about 175-ish, somewhere in that number. And it really affected all of our precincts.
Yeah. So that manipulation is done in these bylaws. It's a fixed number. It's across the state. It's the same for everybody. No
It's
more
happened
play-
in other counties as well.
Yeah, well, we're sure it is. It happened in Allegan to a light extent.
Happened
know.
in Van Buren to a significant extent.
Did it?
Yes, yes,
Sure
it did.
enough did.
Yeah, that's why Ron
Arlington
and
Township.
Heath, they didn't win. And, you know, yep.
Well, fixed ratio. It's now math. No arguing about it. And that's the purpose. That's the purpose of that. All right, county party autonomy. The composition of the executive committee is to be based upon what the precinct delegates want. All right, the precinct delegates will be allowed to determine the size of their EC, and precinct delegates will decide who gets to serve on their EC. There's no, in my county, the only time certain executive committee members show up is when a particular vote needs to be taken. There are certain, Michelle's nodding. There are just ways the game is played, which is stacked against we the people. And the restrictions that are there, which assign certain people just by virtue of an office that they may have been voted to, they've got to go out and actually market themselves to their delegates in order to be elected to the executive committee. Plain and simple. No more of just stacking a deck and pulling out your executive committee members whenever something needs to be done. You know,
But if it's in their bylaws, Jason.
if Rich,
Well,
you want
well, we
Rich,
have we have an answer. Well, we put a line in this in these provisions. I believe it's down at the closer to the bottom, Jason. I think it's in number 5.
how about 6?
It's the last line of 4. When in conflict, state committee bylaws prevail so that these provisions will have priority. And I know that might be a little bit nerve-wracking, but the only way that we can actually protect the delegates and do all these great things that we're listing here is if we have that line in there. And we are going to put some nuance around that line so that we steer clear of telling you how to spend money and things like that. We're gonna make this provision narrow. We're gonna narrow this provision so that it's just dealing with when it kind of comes to these type of things. Okay, so the way it's written right now, it's a little too broad. I'm not even comfortable. When I wrote it, I'm like, oh, that's a little scary. So we're gonna narrow this down so that it's really only protecting the good stuff here, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and Rich, I will tell you, DePerno, in our whole lawsuit things, he plastered the Democrats' state bylaws on everything and then used them. But part of those Democrat bylaws do give them an out on the MCL, which I think ours should be doing too. And but they also said that if county bylaws didn't meet certain guidelines or whatever, they weren't valid.
Mm-hmm. You're saying the Democrat bylaws did that?
Yep, they did that. And
Yeah.
the only reason I know that is because DePerno plastered it on everything that he sent into the court.
Yeah. Well, we probably probably not going to go that far. I think and we won't need to, there's some other you know, the you can kind of get into some issues if you have it such a blanket statement. So we're going to try to narrow ours down a little bit and just have it around protecting delegates' rights, protecting the county, the delegate. If it's got something to do with the delegates, we're gonna protect it through our state bylaws. I guess it's like that. That's why it's called the Bill of Rights, right? It's our federal, the Bill of Rights is a federal document that reaches all the way down to the states and then to the local jurisdictions. So it's the same idea.
No, I agree. And my personal belief is if there had not been a problem throughout history with what was going on with delegates, there'd be no reason for us to have a state law outlining it like it does.
Right. Exactly.
So, Sabrina, you just mentioned the state law. We're actually going to pull out of the bylaws practically all the references to MCL. Now, the reason for doing that, and Rich can speak more clear than I can on the subject. But if we remove those references to MCL and do solid bylaws, when something actually does wind up in court, the court is simply going to say, hey, what do your bylaws say? Before they go to MCL, they're going to go, what's written in your bylaws? I had one interaction with business partners, like 15 years ago, where we wound up in arbitration and mediation and all those other expensive words. And the bylaws that formed our partnership were pulled out first. They were pulled out before any reference to state law, before any reference to MCL. And it had to do with the dissolution of a company and how funds were to be da-da-da-da-da-da. And that's what got pulled out and used as the basis. That judge, what your bylaws say this, we don't care what the state says, this is what you signed up for. Okay, and that's one of the goals here. Now, the other part of that goal about removing MCL is MCL can change. We want what we want done written in our bylaws. So in a platform that we can adjust in the way that we see fit without having to worry about what happens outside. All right. Now we're not going to do anything crazy like saying if somebody brings blue soda pop to a convention, you know, they're going to get shot. You know, that obviously we can't, to be absurd, you can't put murder in your bylaws and expect to get away with it. Okay. But those references to MCL, Rich, we pruned out about all of them, didn't we?
We did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's why. So we're skipping ahead a little bit.
I think you have to have some sort of disclaimer in there too, if I remember correctly, regarding MCL.
What do you mean?
I would have to find it, but there is some type of wording which they may have put in KGOP bylaws too. I can't remember, to give you an out on the MCL where you can have there is some wording.
If you come across that, take a screenshot of it and send it to Rich. Copy me. Sorry, bud.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that's a good point. So yes.
All right. So back up to number 3, just quickly. Does everybody see what we were trying to do there? Composition of the EC is now what the delegates say it is. Okay. Number 4.
We kind of covered it because we went into that flow chart, Jason.
Yeah. Yeah. Number 4 is kind of the oversight committee, how the oversight committee works. You know, we've got a standard process for issues resolutions, promotes conflict resolution before conventions, due process, et cetera. And again, if y'all follow that link, I mean, these are all, you'll be able to view all of them and read through them on your own. But here's a process. And I honestly, and Jolene, my wife, and I have been precinct delegates for more than 16 years now. We've never seen anybody actually flowchart anything where us mere mortals can understand it. We've always had to go, oh my gosh, I need an attorney to figure out what this thing actually said.
Well, here's the reason why. Here's the reason why we did it is because we have to sell this thing to the state committee, and these people are not easy, and then they're not very agreeable types of people. And so we have to pull out every possible stop that we can and go over and above just to have a shot at getting this passed, you know, unfortunately.
As far as we can tell right now, all they're making against us is noise. Nobody is coming at us based upon content. Nobody's coming at us based upon, hey, this is unreasonable or this doesn't work. Can I show them the commentary on our changes? I'm going to pull that up here a second.
Sure.
You know what I was going to say that I think would be really helpful is
What's
if
that?
you guys could take this on the road via Zoom to district and get as many precinct delegates on,
Sure.
then the delegates will be behind this and have to pressure their state committee members. If they see, I mean, to me, it's just logical. It's common sense.
Here's a look at what we've been up to. Here's our proposed changes to our bylaws. Here's our original source. And then we've gone through, and all of the edits are who did it. And if you note here, like here, this line was struck out. If you click on that, that's actually going to take you to a commentary document that says strike the text, reason for the change. We've got, Rich, how long is this? This is like 30 pages. Every single edit that we've made, we've given what it is and why. So right now, this is in the hands of MyGop Legal, and they're reviewing it. That's the reason, because legal hasn't gone through it yet. That's why if you guys click on this, the links won't work until legal comes through and says, well, you screwed this up and this doesn't work. As of yet, we've gotten no feedback back. You know, we've actually had some backpedaling happening about people that thought things were going to be a certain way. And then they dug in and went, oh, yeah, you're right. You know?
Well, how long is legal going to have this? Do they have a time frame?
Good question.
I mean, do they know that we want to get this on the docket for January 6th?
I'm
since
sure
we
they
have
do.
county convention 2 months later?
Yes, and that's the other reason for doing what you said, getting as many delegates' eyes on this as possible and beating their door down and saying, pass it.
Yeah, because I think you and Rich would be a great, team to reach out to at least the friendly chairs and get all those delegate and people on board, but then, start to bust into District 2 or District 3 or, obviously District 5 is still a mixed bag.
If in the course of the next couple of days while you're thinking, we need other people to help us do this. Us two guys, as much as we'd love to launch across the state, I've got to keep a small business going. Rich has got we're not giving up. We've got other people throwing us under the bus already. But hey, if I'm not a marketer,
I'm not
Rich, you never
either.
said you're a marketer either, but if we had a marketing person that really, really knew how to do this, please put them in contact with us. You know?
Jason, have you
Yes, Rob.
considered recording one of these sessions
We're recording
so
all.
that, but I mean, take that on the road. That would help cut down on time and number of questions, and it would make it easier for other people to jump in and help.
Rich,
Really
If
good
you and
point.
Rich had, if you and Rich go through and you walk through the
Yeah.
basic framework
Mhm.
of what this is and how it works, then you
Yeah.
could just field questions instead of doing the full presentation every single time. It would be more duplicatable, and it would give you a basic framework to work with.
Yeah, she's right.
Sabrina, y'all made a bunch of videos back in the day. Who'd you do that with?
A person that I paid, his name is Mike.
Where's he
From
from? Kalamazoo or?
Kalamazoo. Kalamazoo.
All right.
Yeah, but what I will say too about getting it in front of state committee, what you don't want is to say, oh, well, we're waiting for legal and now you're past the 30 days, because I can see that happening too. And so
Yeah,
now you have not met that bylaw guideline of state committee having it within the 30 days before the
Well,
meeting,
which we need to have it in our hands by November 6th.
which is a very
Yeah, I'm afraid that Jason and I don't have visibility to everything that's going on behind the curtain. And I'm afraid that if something doesn't break loose, we're gonna miss the November, what is it, November 4th or November 6th?
Yeah,
Well,
and
then
Rich,
we
here's my
need to
thinking
put
too.
pressure on Runstead.
Here's my thinking too. We always want to be the rule followers. We always want to wait and see what happens, while the other side just kills us. Like Lawless, he just sends it out to everybody, which then gives him that 30-day time taking, where did that pass? But he put it out there. So why can't we say, just put it out there, even though, there can be a disclaimer like, oh, legal's still reviewing it, but here is what we passed in policy committee. So therefore it's in the hands of state committee at least the 30 days beforehand.
Yeah.
Now it forces the hand on legal to say, if you
Yeah.
think there needs to be change, you're going to need to do that so that we can take it to state committee because they have it.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
correct. I agree with you, Sabrina. We can do that. Not how
Yeah,
we'd like
that's
to
what
do it,
needs
but
to
we
be
can,
done.
we can do that. Yeah.
Because we can't kick the can on this anymore. With a county and a state convention coming up just after the new year.
Okay.
Noted. We know.
And maybe that's a good idea, maybe if we can get even it can be after it goes out to state committee, but if you can get like, a short video that can be sent out to all delegates, then that way they have it, they've seen it.
Right.
It was easy to understand what's going on. And now you don't have to, it takes time to have to meet with every district, put on that's time consuming.
Yeah.
But if you have a short video that you can email out,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
takes care of it.
I think that's what we have to do, Jason. I think that's because she's right about the time commitment to get in front of everybody. And we could still do that, but getting one video and blasting it out to everybody, embedding it on your website that you created, that's how we can reach everybody,
Yep. Is this
Who
a
else?
long ways all the way to Marquette? I'll just tell you that.
Let's continue through here. So good order. That's the bones of the whole conflict resolution or oversight committee. All right, we talked about that. Now,
One more point, Jason. Sorry,
Yeah.
don't mean to interrupt, but we've got another bullet in here. Bullet number 4 prohibits lawsuits within the Michigan Republican Party. We felt that was important because we happen to know of cases where, if you have a lawyer sitting on the EC that maybe is part of the problem, he doesn't have the same type of constraints that delegates do, who would have to go out and hire a lawyer. And so we want to drive everything into basically our own private arbitration where it doesn't cost people money, or at least it's not going to cost people $10,000 or $20,000 to defend themselves or to get something accomplished. So this just rolls into, if you want to wear the jersey, you got to play by the rules. If you start suing people, you're gonna get called into the carpet over it.
Okay, talking about the jersey, official recognition. If we don't call out the fact that we own certain terms, we own certain artwork, when somebody gets off in the weeds, and isn't wearing the jersey, to use the metaphor, you can't say, hey, we can't issue a press release and say they're not part of us anymore. There has to be some definition. So with name, logo, and image rights, somebody right out of the gate jumped on the fact, well, what are you going to do? You're going to say that somebody can't call, or you can't use the word Republican unless you bless it? No, that's obviously, nobody can trademark the name Republican, but if you're using the name Republican within the context of what we're doing, and you're off in the bushes, that's when the state committee could step down, issue a press release, and say this particular group is not playing football to the rules, and therefore they're being censured, they're being whatever's going to happen to them. All right. There was a case here where, and we're referencing this case because somebody named Dean Hazel created, he created a nonprofit named the Republican Party, and then went out and solicited funds for it. Again, I'm not an attorney, but here's somebody that actually did like a gross thing to this effect, and it kind of wound up going, we didn't have the leverage we should have had. We never called out, the state, MyGOP never called out and said, within this context, this artwork and this terminology is ours. So therefore, MyGOP couldn't lean on this particular guy. Rich, do I have that right? They couldn't apply legal pressure quickly, and it turned into a hairball. All right, delegate oversight.
Can I say one thing about that? If I remember correctly, there's something about Republican and GOP. Like Republican is just general. It's not a brand. GOP, from what I remember, that's where it was stop and desist orders on for GOP, not Republican.
Notice the second plaintiff right here, Republican National Committee. So this was MyGOP and RNC that hopped into that. So, Sabrina, that's where, GOP, that goes uphill one step above us to the national level.
And again, we're not necessarily trying to amend the bylaws to allow us to take someone to court. We're just giving ourselves permission to call out a splinter group that is maybe competing with a local county party or some PAC that's raising money off of the Republican name. If that's being done in competition with the official MyGOP committees, we're just reserved to issue a press release and to call them out for not being recognized. And a lot of times that's going to diminish their credibility. We don't even, without even having to go to court. So that's the idea behind putting it in the bylaws. The bylaws basically give us permission to do these things. Otherwise, by what authority are we doing them? So we just put it in the bylaws, and it gives us permission to say, you're not a Republican group because we're the Republican group. We're not going to do that, without cause. No one's.
Case in point, on Telegram, the MI-GOP information service. Do y'all remember when these weasels came out?
Yes,
These guys still, I mean, pass themselves off as the mouthpiece of MIGOP.
yes,
And they're, for all intents and purposes, they've even got the dadgum elephant in their logo. Although I think they changed the stars on the elephant or something silly like that. But, you know, that kind of branding is what we're talking about. Here's a splinter group that impersonated the MIGOP through that, you know, through that rough chunk of time where where the delegates actually elected, where we elected the chairwoman that we wanted. And these guys came after her, impersonated things, created smoke, noise, hatred, dissension, and they're still out there.
yeah.
So that's the thrust of 5. All right, delegate oversight. The delegates really, I mean, it's the teeth of the delegates really don't have a ton of teeth once the ball's rolling. Once the executive committees are created, once persons are elected and put in place. And when you find out you have a problem, we pretty much get left out in the weeds. I say we because I am one. So our agendas, everybody's agenda for a convention. Now that's a county convention, that's a district convention, that's a state convention. You've got a section that's going to include for delegate initiated motions. Now, not a free for all. There's obviously, you know, you can't form a line that's 300 people deep. There's going to be there's a filter process for that. So there's a place for the delegates to initiate motions within a convention. Convention agendas will include a section for delegate initiated disciplinary processes. I was 100% ever against ever pulling an elected delegate out of anything. And I've come to find over the last 6 months that there are a couple of fringe cases, couple of fringe cases of people that are basically precinct delegates and they're running around as a Nazi. It's just some of the most whack stuff you've ever seen. So a delegate would be able to initiate a disciplinary process in that, in these awful cases. All right. Delegates would also have oversight of their EC officers, members, appointments, and the bylaws. Notice, and bylaws. Right now, in order to make any kind of a change to a bylaw, it's up in the executive committee, which is stacked in a certain way that if you ever want to make a bylaw, there's practically no way in heck you're ever going to get everybody in the same room unless they really want to do it. You know, in Allegan County, I can remember one time where we had enough people in the room to make even a minor bylaw change. That seems to be by design. All right, so the delegates will have a way to oversight that. The delegates will have a way to initiate an amendment process to bylaws. And elected delegates always are the ones that choose to send their delegates to state conventions. That's the top end. That's the high level of what we've been working on for the last 6 months. Yes, Michelle.
So in that last line, the precinct delegates select the delegates to go to state convention. Is there any guidance as to how those elected precinct delegates are supposed to vote? Or is that whole debacle being addressed on whether you send somebody with the intention that they're voting this way, or if it's up to the precinct delegates as a part of the D4 district, for example, to vote as a district, like that whole thing that happened?
So currently that question is not addressed by this bullet. The only thing that this bullet really addresses is that we have put together a very detailed definition of what an elected precinct delegate is. And part of it is to differentiate from the delegates at large. because they already get to go.
Mhm.
Same kind of concept as with the EC. And no, it doesn't speak to any details like you're talking about. It's basically a voting eligibility, who gets to vote for the delegates to go to state convention.
Do we see anywhere in this whole document where something with that direction can be added?
It could be. I mean, that topic has never come up to my knowledge. So if there's a kind of an issue on the radar, I'm not aware of it. Jason, are you aware of Michelle, what are you actually wanting
So-
to happen?
So Jason and I were both censured by the Allegan County Executive Committee because we didn't vote the way we were supposed to vote according to their wishes at the,
Okay.
yeah, at the D4 convention, so.
Well, that sounds like a fair game for another provision, I suppose. Jason, if you want to take a note, we can add. We've got a running list of things that we need to get drafted up before we send this video out. But there's time.
Don't mean to add more work, but that was an issue, so.
Michelle,
Mhm.
were you asking, and forgive me, I heard you ask kind of a different question. Were you
Okay.
asking, is the methodology for actually the precinct delegates electing the delegates to state convention, was that spelled out? Is that what you?
No, not the method by which they're elected, but how that election is expected to be represented at convention. Might be a good way
Okay.
to say that.
And speaking of the trouble we ran into,
Yes.
Well, I don't know. Maybe the intimidation provision would kick in, but we
Right.
could do something because we do have that. So if you get elected and then you're told how to vote or you're going to get censured, then I would say that intimidation clause kicks in right away. But we could do something more specific if it's desired.
you know what, Michelle, I've been up to my ears with other stuff. I honestly hadn't thought about that, but just to go through here, hey, okay, this is convention rights, isn't it?
Yeah,
Um,
but that's what happens. You're at a state convention. If you're told how to vote, you could claim intimidation
yeah,
right there.
I mean, that was, now, I would dare say Michelle obviously has the most spine of the matter, and she didn't care. She was voting the way she wanted to anyway. But and we did, but yeah, we caught a lot of heat for that. Now, there's a
Yeah.
process to go through to address that. We could, if this was in process, we would then actually go through, create a complaint, the names, the defendants, what happened, what relief is sought. You and I would have to come up with, well, we'd want the censure to be rescinded
Rescinded,
and an
yeah.
apology issued.
Yeah.
You know what I
Right.
mean? Or we could think of other creative things of what relief is sought. But then that would start that process.
Okay. I'm trying to think of nipping it in the bud before that potentially happens. Like the communication should be clear. I know Sabrina said it was clear, but apparently somebody didn't think it was clear about how the chair people are running their county conventions with the same expectations of what district
Yeah.
is going to look like.
I think we could add just a couple of words to that intimidation provision to include,
Coercion.
some type of coercion to vote a certain way. That would be an easy add, if that's what we're talking about. Because the
I
idea
just want
here
to
is that-
say, if I
ahead.
may, I think this is beautiful because Jason, you've been working on this with us for 6 months. You and Rich have been in the lead. And this is the first time you've considered how this would work in a real life situation that you personally experienced. And you just walked your way through the flow chart. Good. That's exactly proving the point. Just had to say it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I think if we,
Rich, it worked.
I would
Yay.
like to say, I hope you guys, because my connection's getting really bad. I had a family member who was a delegate, and because they were being told how to vote in Kalamazoo, he finally said, "I'm done," and walked away. So I think that you putting something in here would be fantastic to help. So thank you, you guys.
All right.
Yeah,
so did we.
and keeping the words, like, so you're not putting, because you're gonna get pushback, so wording things for the least possible pushback. I know you can't plan for everything, but I'm thinking the word coercion would put the hair up on people's necks. So
Mhm.
There's hair up.
so I'm thinking like guidance is to what the expectation process is at district, something that's non-combative wording.
No, there. I'll just speak to the combativeness already. I mean, there's a handful of folks that honestly are not attacking us based upon content at all. They're what's it called when you're beating somebody up? Just is it ad hominem attack? You know, they're just making noise. I mean, they've actually got Jim Runstead convinced that this will never happen. And Jim's not, Jim, give us, we want a half an hour of your time to go through this. We feel this makes, now, Rich and I have been in this up to our heads, and like any, technical minded people, sometimes we'll get into the detail and not be able to see our way out. But Rich has gave this talk to your home county, Berrien, and it was well received. Y'all are looking at it, and I'm hearing a bit that you like the way this is spelled out.
Mm-hmm.
Pass the word. When you hear, bitterness, hate, and dissent coming from people, listen to, are they coming from content? Did we actually screw something up? Are we doing something that's negative to the Republican brand? We're not finding that argument anywhere. We're finding, oh my gosh, we had one of, this whole thing is for the, is for the help of the foundational building block of the Republican Party, which is the precinct delegates. And we heard our grassroots vice chair throw us under the bus. And we're just going, dude, what do you got in our content that's wrong? And it's just, we can't do this. We've got to beat more Democrats. We don't have time for this. And we're just like, good Lord, you want to play football without any lines on the field, without any jerseys with color on, without referees. And you're just, we're just pulling our hair out.
Well, I will tell you, Jason, that our grassroots vice chair, Chris, I spoke with him, so it's not a hearsay. He wants to implement Kalamazoo's bylaws in Mecosta County.
Why?
He likes them.
Why?
How can you be the grassroots guy and want to do that? That melts
our
my
conversation
head.
did not go well, I'll tell you that. But this came out of his mouth.
Yikes.
Yes, he told me that. And it was all about the fact that, they need to keep out these people who are basically a pretend Republicans, and that they're commissioners, I believe. Some of them are running to be delegates, and this would be their way to keep them out. And so my response to him was, so you guys are becoming communists because I don't agree with anything you just told me.
Yeah, I've been really, really surprised at, the lack of debating this on merit.
Jason, they can't debate you on merit. You have too much substance. It makes too much sense for them to even attempt to argue on merit. there's a situation that I'm involved in, and people have not said anything about the merits of my case. They just said that they thought it was inappropriate. They haven't said why, but when people can't argue about your substance, they come up with other stuff like silliness.
Well, we're swimming in it. Rich, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure everybody, I wanted to confirm what Sabrina said. I've had that same conversation with Chris, and um, and in fact, when he told me that the words he used was, "We're being infiltrated by the Chinese Communist Party." I'm like, "What?" And he was telling me that he was afraid that all the pro-Chinese Goshen plant people were going to infiltrate and become precinct delegates. Well, guess what? We've we've got a solution for that. If that actually happened, um, county party chairs as well as district chairs can file a complaint, and he could say, we're being overrun by the Chinese Communist Party. And then that would trigger our process, and we would look at the evidence and determine if that's true. And if it were true, if it were really true that the Republican Party was being infiltrated, I think we would step in and we could unseat an entire delegation if that were actually true, if it were CCP, Chinese communists. So, I don't want to say I called his bluff. I put a solution in for him so that we could accommodate his concern.
Did
And
he
I
hear you?
hope well, he's got access to this, but I hope that maybe he's even watching this recording and he can take a look at this and know that we've accommodated his scenario, because we don't want McCosker County to fall to the Chinese. We don't want that. So we're here to make sure that doesn't happen.
Well, we've gotten to the bottom of the page. That's what we're up to. Thank you for the ideas on video.
Can we plug the feedback survey here, Jason?
Oh yeah.
Scroll down. See that, right, guys, right there?
Yep,
You'll
here,
just take
back
that.
up right there.
I guarantee you guys, if you take this survey, you're going to love it. You'll love the first question. We don't have to go through all this. It's very short, but the question on election integrity you're going to love. Yeah, it's just hard to get people. I mean, everybody was really fired up in our meeting the other night. We had a unanimous vote we went through this survey together in our meeting, so that we could take a vote on it. I think I don't think we're planning to do that tonight, but people didn't go back and take the survey like we were hoping they would. So I just encourage everybody to do it. And I think as soon as we start publishing names, more people will want their name on this. So we just need to get kind of a critical mass in there, maybe 30, 40 names, and then it'll start looking pretty healthy.
So can we send this out as is to other precinct delegates?
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. Yes.
Jason, does Jolene have a list you guys can send out, or do you need me to work on something?
If you could help.
Why
that'd be-
don't you guys send this to our District 4 email list? Doesn't our secretary have a District 4 email list for all the precinct delegates?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll get it done.
So one of the things we did in Berrien, after we had our session, is we took a vote to approve the committee report, and we did a little press release. So it's not my meeting, but I just want to throw that in there in case you guys want to take a step as D4. That's something that we could do here while we're all on.
Sean, you willing to do that?
Yeah. Yeah, we can totally do that.
I have to say, I make a motion to accept, I don't know how we say that. Rich, how did they say that?
Oh, what we did is we made a motion to approve the precinct delegate Bill of Rights subcommittee report.
What if we want that added phrase in there about the what was that we talked about? Like you know, how we were talking about delegates not being pressured into voting the way people want them to vote. What if we want that in there somewhere?
In the motion or in the document?
No, no, in the document.
That would.
The
Before we
document will be amended.
Yeah, that would come as an amendment at state committee.
Exactly. That's what I was
okay.
about to say.
Well,
Right.
I would like to make a motion to approve the precinct delegate Bill of Rights.
The subcommittee report.
I will second that.
I don't even think we need to approve the report. I mean, I don't think that's something we need to make a motion on to approve the report because it doesn't, you're just presenting what to us.
Well, I mean,
So
but in District 4, I think we do. Yes, I think we do as District 4.
I think accept the report is the more proper way, not
Oh,
approve the
okay.
report.
Motion to accept it. Okay.
There you go.
Okay, who seconded that?
Karen
I will.
Johnson.
Karen Johnson. Okay, thank you. I'm writing this down, Sean.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Can we
Well,
can we make a little friendly amendment to that we're in full support of the precinct delegate Bill of Rights as the executive committee?
Well, aren't we going to vote on? I mean, aren't we going to vote to accept it and say all approve or all in favor?
Yeah.
All in favor.
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
would be a resolution if we have a resolution.
So that was
Well-
that resolution. I'm trying to figure out how to,
Wanna
you know,
do
that
this?
precinct Bill of Rights resolution.
You want me to share it, Sean?
Yeah, if you don't mind, can you share it, Rich? Because I can't. That's what I've been trying to work on here. That's why I wasn't speaking. Trying to.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can. I have a copy of it here.
I think I got to update my computer, man. I got an old computer here, and it's not bringing up for some reason.
Okay, can you guys see this?
Mm-hmm.
I'm also going to get an email to you guys too. Can
Full
you send?
screen that, Rich. Full
Yeah.
screen on your end. There you go. And then scale that up, zoom in on it.
How's that?
Go a little deeper if you can.
Bigger, please.
Make it touch the edges.
Please.
There you
Like
go.
that?
Yeah.
There we go. Thank you.
Okay.
Does everybody want to look through it real quick here, and then we can vote to approve it once you read through it here. I'm actually in the process of trying to get this emailed out to y'all, you guys too.
Sean, did you change anything after you had Sabrina and I look at this?
The only thing that you guys had suggested was the Sabrina suggested the 2025 change on that, and I talked to Rich on that. Rich, what did you guys think of on that?
Yeah, whatever you guys want. I can just pound it in right here.
Why don't you go ahead? I think she wanted to specify that it was for 2025, right, Sabrina? That's what you had said to me at one point.
Yeah, only reason because there was a Bill of Rights that Jen Copus put out a couple years ago that actually was not a good Bill of Rights and should have never been sent out to everyone because it wasn't even approved. And it was a top-down type of situation and the counties were not happy with it. So, and I think they've been confusing that Bill of Rights with what we're looking at right now, and they're not the same. So we want to make sure that they realize that this is a Bill of Rights that was created in 2025 and passed by the policy committee in 2025.
Okay.
So Rich, you know how to make that adjustment real quick?
Yeah, Sabrina, do you want it just in the title here, or do you want it in this byline down here as well?
Which line down where?
Right here. Do you want it here as well? I put it there. I put it here too.
It should be both places. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll work on getting it.
A resolution in support of the 2025 Precinct Delegate Bill of Rights as in Policy Committee?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
As passed by
you did
policy
say
committee?
that too. You did mention that too, Sabrina, as presented by policy committee or whatever.
That's a great way to say it, as presented by Policy Committee.
Yeah.
As presented to Policy Committee?
Bye.
Presented
Bye.
by.
Aye.
Oh boy. Like this.
Yeah. Yep.
And my GOP Policy Committee.
Yes.
Oops.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, we're the over 50 bunch. We have to have glasses.
Yeah.
Well, is there, Rich, I see that QR code at the bottom. Could they scan that real quick or no? Or
No, that just takes them. No, that QR code takes them to the
Website.
document we were looking
Okay.
at.
I scanned over it. I'm good.
Yeah, I
Okay.
like that. That's well done.
And what I'll do, you guys, is I will email this to you too. Once
Okay.
Rich, if you could send me a nice clean document on that.
I will. I got to do a little formatting now that
Okay.
we added some text. So,
Mr. Chair, point of order a minute.
Yep, go ahead.
We've got a motion on the floor that was seconded.
We need to vote.
Yep, or unless that motion, unless the motion maker would like to rescind her motion and make a different motion endorsing this resolution.
Sure, I can do that. So, I want a motion to accept I would like to make a motion to accept the Bill of Rights, but also, I don't know if I'm doing this right. Sorry. What did you say,
First,
Jason?
Mary, do you wish to retract your motion?
Yes, I do. I retract the motion.
Okay. And then, Mary, do you wish to make a motion to accept this resolution as written?
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to say at this time, any discussion, I guess. Any more discussion on this?
The motion was to accept the presentation you guys just made, but then
Right.
John made the friendly to include this resolution. So,
No, she rescinded it.
okay,
Yeah.
we're going to do this resolution separately then.
I'd like to add one thing.
Yeah, go ahead, Terry.
I just think since it happened to me that we should put it in there somehow that you cannot get rid of the statutory members in the executive committee. I think that's the way all these three counties do it, and I think apparently it needs to be said because I've been kicked off the executive committee.
Rich, Jason, I'm going to defer this to you. Is there anything in there that's covering what Terry's asking for right now?
well, let me ask the provision that says that the delegates shall determine the size and composition of their EC. Would that not cover you? And then if the EC did something in the interim, the next convention that you have the power to actually modify your EC again at the next convention. I'm not sure that we could do anything else to reach in. I'm not sure what the proposal would be beyond those two provisions that we currently have.
Well, if you think those can actually do it, then let's leave it as is. That's
Well,
correct.
I think that part where Rich said that the delegates determine what the EC is, actually is enough information in there for the delegates to be able to say, yes, this is what we would like our EC to be.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is good now that
Yeah.
now that I think about that
Yeah,
part of
because
it. Yeah.
they legally can't remove you as a statutory member because you won your primary.
Yeah. Well, they can't do it legally, but they've done it.
Can't do
Every
a
time
lot
I
of things, and they've done it, and they get away with it. So
So
that's why we need something like this to then have the backing of the state party
yeah,
and the state committee.
Actually, lawfully, they can do it because it's an MCL and there's this whole thing. You get to determine your membership, blah, blah, blah. So lawfully, they can do it. But when it puts it back into the hands, now they just violated their own bylaws and everything. That's totally different. But lawfully, you can put it in your bylaws and you can do exactly what they did. But this is putting some teeth to it and putting it back in the hands of the delegates and
just
determining the membership.
I have a niece who has connections all over the state of Michigan, and she says people are just scared to death of Kalamazoo County.
Okay.
Rich, what were you saying about new sheriff in town in November?
well, I mean, if with these type of protections, you guys should be able to go back, sign up precinct delegates, and in November you should be able to sweep, because if this passes, they won't be able to cap your delegates like they did. They won't be able to keep you guys from voting like they did. And you guys can go into convention and you can basically put in your own EC and they won't be able to stop you.
But
And
how
if they do, they won't, and they
around
won't be
their bylaws?
We can change bylaws too. It's in there. It's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, because if they don't follow our convention rules, then they won't get recognized. That part about recognition, that
Yeah.
also includes recognizing the county after the November election. So if they pull their shenanigans in the November election and you guys make a complaint, they won't be recognized, and they're not going to be able to kind of rig their election anymore. That's the best way to put it.
They also kind of changed the makeup of how often, like some of their delegates get like a 4-year term on the EC. It's really weird. I don't know if you've ever read the Kalamazoo bylaws, but they even changed that up.
That's
Well,
not.
we can change that in a convention. That's what they're putting the power back.
Sabrina, I get it, but I'm just trying to think getting in there to even get a vote on the floor.
They can't do that either. This requires a 2-year. This is a 2-year term. It's part of the definition of. You remember when I said that we have a very specific definition for elected precinct delegates? It's a 2-year term, so they can't do that.
Well, I actually see this as being like a county committee, because it's really the delegates that are in charge. So it's really putting it back in the hand. It's really putting it back in the hands of the delegates. I think if we get too far in the weeds and they start to think that the state is coming down on the counties and trying to control every aspect of the county, we're going to lose people. So we have to keep it to just delegate rights and the delegates controlling what is going on in their own counties.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the only thing the state is going to do is to make sure that your rights are upheld. That's the whole key to it.
Yes.
I really like it.
All right. So we still have a
Motion.
we had a motion. It was seconded. So I guess at this point, if there's no more discussion on it, is there any more discussion or no? Final. All All right, at this time then, I'm going to ask all in favor of the D4 precinct delegate Bill of Rights resolution, say aye.
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 All
Aye.
opposed? Sounds like it passes to me, everyone, right?
Yep, pass unanimously. Yep.
Okay, very good.
Thank
Okay.
you for that, y'all. I appreciate that a lot. That you're my home team.
Hey, thank
We
you
appreciate
for all the
you.
work you put in.
That blesses my soul to hear it from you. Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody, for all your hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One point, guys, John and Robin, if your counties are interested in a presentation like this, and if and it's for the purpose of passing a resolution like this, I'd be happy to change the headers, and or even send you this, and you can take it and make it your own. But I think the more counties and the more districts that put their names to this, it's going to be helpful to get some momentum going.
Yeah, send me can you email me a copy?
Yes, sir.
All right, I got a meeting with the chair tomorrow, so.
Okay.
So I believe our Van Buren County chair is supposed to reach out to Jason and have you guys present to our district.
Okay. Very good.
And literally, you guys, we need to put the pressure on, because these guys work too hard for us just to let it just kind of go by the wayside. And I know you guys are all about that too. I mean, as far as putting the pressure on, you know what? Wouldn't even hurt to send an email to the chair. Put a little pressure on him too.
Yes.
No, honestly, if he had seen this tonight, he'd be all for this.
Yep.
The problem is
Yeah.
he's surrounded by people that are telling him
Yes.
this is a terrible thing.
Yep.
And he's not getting the
Invite
truth.
him tonight? Did you invite him?
No, I didn't. You know what, Kim? This comes down to one of them things. I as one of those intimate things where I felt like we need to present it to you guys all first, and then, but the chairman does know about it, because didn't you guys send him a copy of it, or no? Didn't it go to the chairman itself too, or no? Or the policy committee? Didn't you guys present it to him?
He's been invited to every policy committee meeting. He's been a no-show.
All right.
He wouldn't take a meeting with us.
Unbelievable, dude.
Somebody has his ear bent so well. I mean, I approached him more than a week ago, and it was just, hey, we'll come to you in Lansing. We just want 20 minutes of your time, because that's when we heard the eruption starting to take off. And I'm inferring somebody got to him already, because he was very negative.
I think as we continue doing these, like if we do one with Van Buren or if we do one with Ottawa, I think that you guys have some great ideas, and we can just start inviting more VIPs to these things, because I have a feeling that it's going to be well received every time. And a lot of these guys, these VIP types, they'll latch on to something once they get the idea that the rank and file is behind it.
Yeah.
So maybe we can do something like that.
Because I think there's power in them hearing the discussion, like what we went tonight.
Yeah.
2 hours.
Well, speaking of that, I raised my hand because I know we've been speaking very freely, but I think this recorded video is gold. And I just wonder how you guys would feel about releasing it raw like this. I think
Vote for it.
I think we need to find, I mean, I'm not running the meeting, but would anybody be against it? Because we need to know if anybody would be against it,
Mr.
But I
Chair,
know
No
I've said it.
objections.
Let her fly.
Mr. Chair, Sean, I'd like to make a motion that this video be set up for public release on an as-needed basis for dissemination as widely as possible.
I
Second.
second.
All right, we got a motion and a second on playing the the taped recording of our meeting on the discussion of the precinct delegate Bill of Rights. And all in favor of being able to show this video, say aye.
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 All opposed? All right. Sounds like it passes to me.
Any negative things you can just put on Joel Buck because I don't care.
Nicely said, Joel.